I know, the Windy City. The Windy City, there's a lot of drama. There's the aftermath of course, the, well, I wouldn't say it's fully over yet because it's still ongoing. The ICE detentions, the ICE raids happening here in the Windy City. And now, with them winding down, allegedly, operations in Chicago, there's going to be a full on legal nightmare paperwork that everyone's going to have to go through. And that's not going to be a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot to cover. And in this city where there is so much madness, all knives are going to come out. See, I did give this prediction that once ICE winds down its operations, then comes the lawsuits, the legalities, and yes, even Democrat politicians going up against each other. Or either that, seeing what happens to some of the protesters who got arrested and are right now facing off against different court trials. Case in point, right here, there's one issue that I want to bring up here, at least some good news for the time being. We did play that video of that daycare teacher who was taken in by feds. She has just been released. Diana Santilia Galerio was pulled out of the North Center daycare by federal immigration agents last week. This is her. So the teacher that was arrested last week by federal immigration agents at the North Center preschool where she works at has been released. So that's great. All right. She was released from ICE detention in Clay County, Indiana on Wednesday night, which, by the way, never forget Harlan's Media. We did a video way back in 2018 in which there was the Gary Chicago International Airport in which migrants from Illinois, Michigan, Wisconsin, Indiana, etc., were all sent there to be flown on out, right? So I'm grateful to everyone who advocated on my behalf and on behalf of countless others who have experienced similar trauma over the recent months in the Chicago area. I love our community and the children I teach. I can't wait to see them again. So on Wednesday, Judge Jeremy Daniel granted Diana habeas corpus petition and ordered federal officials to give her a bond hearing by Tuesday, court documents show, so she's free. Diana called Santilla Guerrero's detention without a bond hearing unlawful, according to court documents. We will continue to pursue her immigration claims to stay in the United States. We are grateful to her community for the outpouring of support over these difficult days and ask that her privacy be respected while she rests and recovers from this ordeal, her attorney said in a Thursday news release. So she came to the United States from Colombia due to threats to her safety in March of 2023, according to court documents. She filed an application for asylum or withholding of removal and was granted employment authorization through 2029. So she's an infant educator at 250 West Addison Street. And on last Wednesday, federal immigration agents followed her inside her work where she was arrested and detained. Again, way to traumatize kids. But also, it's important to bring this up here as well. I want everyone to see this. Federal judge sets March trial over use of force in immigration crackdown. Now, we've all seen the videos of ICE and its crowd control. Let me tell you something. That's something that was an absolute nightmare. Hardlands Media talked about it. Jimmy Dore talked about it. INN talked about it. Due Dissonance talked about it. Everybody talked about it. And let's be clear. We have to be very clear. The way ICE was conducting its operations in North Side and South Side neighborhoods was abysmal. And anyone thinking that the politicians or the Chicago Police Department were going to step in to stop any of this, no, this went on. Operation Midway Blitz has left a permanent scar in this city. And you better believe that's going to play a significant role in the 2027 city elections. So the Trump administration may be planning another major immigration crackdown in Chicago next spring. So they will be back. Operations are winding down. They're not fully pulling out, but they are winding down because we've seen already that not once but twice Trump was in Chicago. In February 2025 was ICE, Tom Homan, and Dr. Phil. How do you know me? But also late summer of August, September, October, now winding down November, Operation Midway Blitz. Now, what's it going to be for the spring of 2026? Operation Midway Blitz, Electric Boogaloo, or Operation Midway Blitz 2, the Electric Boogaloo. So yes, he's talking about doing it next spring. And a federal judge wants to hold a trial that could limit the tactics authorities use before then. So U.S. District Judge Sarah Ellis on Thursday told lawyers to prepare for a March 2nd trial that will weigh whether federal agents must permanently restrict their use of force during immigration operations in northern Illinois. Ellis said she read the reports that the Border Patrol's operation in Chicago is changing, but may pick up again in a few months. So it ain't over yet. And I'm just going to be a little bit paranoid here, a little bit crazy, a little bit schizo, but controversial statement that's going to be brave and so controversial, they'll probably do a continued operation even during the city election. And oof, what could go wrong? Mayor that's at 5% approval rating, a city that's struggling economically, socially, spiritually, financially, all those good things. A city that's hyper segregated, add in ICE operations in there. The mass resentment that's happening all over the city, not only towards the city council, but to all the leaders and positions and institutions. What could go wrong in 2027? See, it's not 2026 I'm worried about. It's 2027 that I'm worried about. Kaboom. That's what could happen. Officials with the Department of Homeland Security, which oversees Border Patrol and Immigration Customs Enforcement, have said they plan to continue their mission in Chicago. They haven't confirmed reports that Gregory Bovino, the on-group leader of the Blitz in the city this fall, is leaving to deploy elsewhere. In court Thursday, Andrew Warden, attorney for the U.S. Department of Justice, said some immigration officers may be moved into or out of Chicago, but operations will likely continue through the winter. So it ain't over yet. Not by a long shot, not by a mile. And then it'll turn up in the spring. We'll have all this madness and insanity again, and more back and forth. The back and forth came during a status hearing in a Wednesday watched case over First Amendment rights and authorities' use of force. In September, Block Club and other media groups sued the federal government, alleging federal immigration agents are waging war on journalists and on residents in Chicago area who oppose their rampant arrests. Ellis then issued a temporary restraining order barring federal agents from using riot control weapons and other force against journalists and peaceful protesters exercising their First Amendment rights. Since then, however, agents have repeatedly used tear gas, pepper balls, and physical assaults against peaceful protesters, bystanders, and neighborhoods across the city and suburbs, much of it captured on video. I mean, case in point, we even have a candidate that's running for Congress that's also facing off against federal court hearings. So what can go wrong? What could possibly go wrong? Well, this is the aftermath. The battle isn't over. There will not be a sit down, not only between Mayor Brandon Johnson and Governor Pritzker, but also towards Donald Trump as well. There's not going to be that sit down. Operations will be winding down, but not halted. And apparently next year during the spring, they will intensify again. And I will take that as an actual fact right now that, yes, I do see Trump coming back here again. He was here in February of this year, of 2025. He showed up again with ICE, more forces. Heaven forbid he shows up with more forces again. What could go wrong in a city that's going to be struggling so much? We don't know what next year holds for Chicago, a city that has $1.1 billion in a hole. People have absolute resentment and anger towards City Hall, but also towards Mayor Brandon Johnson. And now there's nothing but lawsuits and legality and paperwork. It's a whole soup of disaster, and no one wants to take a bite out of it. But Chicago is going to be at a very, very dangerous point in the city's history. And I will not be surprised if there's more protests and anger. I will not be surprised if there's more outrage in City Hall. I will not be surprised that in the next city election in 2027, there will be a whole hodgepodge of a who's who running for the highest office in this city. What could go wrong? And as for all the legal cases, let's face it, the wheels of justice and the legality and the process moves horrifyingly slow. Once you're in it, the system will chew you slowly until you're done. Defense, plaintiff, defense, you're stuck in it. And none of this needed to happen. There could have been a sit down. There could have been something better than what we're seeing now. And if in 2026 operations intensify, oh no, here comes more paperwork. Here comes more legalities. Here comes more madness. Here comes more arrests. Here comes more stupidity. And we won't be seeing the end of this long-ending nightmare. Though probably we're all senior citizens. Because that's how things move. It's madness in war zone Chicago. And you can do all the protests you want, but never forget, and I will always bring this up, that No King's March, that Labor Day protest. What happened the day after? Did anything get shut down? No. Trump was still president, and ICE was still conducting raids, and politicians were still giving word salad. Yeah, I've seen these tactics before. Try something better and different.